For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Texas seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 6571, the Roberto Clemente Commemorative Coin Act.
Does the gentleman wish to call up H.R. 6751?
6751, Kim. 6751. Which one is that?
6751.
657. Mr. Speaker, I would like the bill to actually be H.R. 6751.
Very well. The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 6751, a bill to require the Secretary of the Treasury to mint commemorative coins in recognition of the life and legacy of Roberto Clemente.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. De La Cruz, and the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Waters, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all the members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on this bill.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself as much time as I may consume. I rise in support of H.R. 6751, a bill to mint a commemorative coin in recognition of the exemplary life and legacy of Roberto Clemente. Roberto Clemente has inspired countless Americans through his impressive athletic achievements and unyielding generosity. Born August 18, 1934, in Carolina, Puerto Rico, Roberto Clemente was the youngest of 7 children. From an early age, he excelled athletically, especially at baseball. After a brief stint in the minors, Clemente joined the Pittsburgh Pirates for the 1955 season. He would go on to become arguably the greatest Pirate to ever wear the jersey, a 15-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, and the 1965 National League MVP winner. To underscore just how Clemente meant to the sport of baseball, he would become the second player in history to have the 5-year waiting period waived before being inducted to the Hall of Fame through a special ballot in 1973. But Roberto Clemente was much more than one of the greatest baseball players of all time. He was a fierce advocate for racial equality. Clemente insisted the Pirates provide African American and Latino players with their own bus so they could travel to restaurants. He was also widely known for his philanthropic efforts. He spent much of his time away from the ballpark collecting donations for Latin American countries, visiting children in hospitals, and putting on baseball clinics for kids from Pittsburgh to Puerto Rico. Clemente's reputation for generosity continued until his tragic death in 1972, while delivering aid to Nicaragua following a devastating earthquake. His untimely passing at the age of 38 was honored by 3 days of official national mourning in his native Puerto Rico, which has brought an abrupt stop to presidential inauguration celebrations. When celebrations resumed, Puerto Rico Secretary of State Fernando Chardon gave a befitting tribute. We have with us today the spirit of a man, Roberto Clemente, who helped teach independent independents, statehooders, and commonwealthers how to play good baseball and become better citizens. H.R. 6751 will honor Roberto Clemente for his outstanding achievements, both on and off the baseball field. Mr. Speaker, I support this bill, and I urge my colleagues to support it as well. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from California.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume. I rise in support of H.R. 6751, the Roberto Clemente Commemorative Coin Act, sponsored by Representative Espaillat. This bill honors the life and legacy of Roberto Clemente, who is renowned not just for being an exceptional baseball player, but also being an Afro-Puerto Rican cultural icon and human rights activist. I'm proud to be co-sponsor of this bill. When Clemente started his major league debut with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1955, he encountered Jim Crow laws that forced black players to stay at separate inferior hotels and refused them the option to dine with their white teammate. When he reported to spring training for the first time, black players had to wait on the bus for their white teammates to bring them food from restaurants after games. Clemente despised the routine and threatened to fight black players who took the food, and he later requested separate transportation. The Pirates eventually provided a station wagon for the black players. In late 1972, a 6.3 magnitude earthquake hit Managua, Nicaragua, killing 5,000 people. In response, Roberto Clemente sent shipments of humanitarian aid to the country. After learning that 3 previous shipments had been diverted by corrupt government officials, Clemente decided to accompany one of the aid shipments. During his trip, however, Roberto Clemente tragically died in a plane crash. This commemorative coin would ensure that Clemente's selfishness would never be forgotten. Roberto Clemente has been recognized for his achievements as a baseball player, a humanitarian activist, and a symbol of Latin American pride. This commemorative coin bill will continue to recognize his life and legacy. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
I yield as much time as she may consume. Gentlelady from Puerto Rico, Ms. Gonzalez Colon.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for yielding the time. I want to say thank you to Chairman McHenry for allowing this bill, and of course my great friend from New York, Congressman Espaillat. It's been a hard work to get this bill to the floor with 296 co-sponsors. I think that's a number we should remember. The legacy of Roberto Clemente is so big that 296 members of Congress just approved and co-sponsored this bill. So I'm honored to stand here as Puerto Rico's sole representative in Congress to honor one of the greatest, Roberto Clemente. We co-introduced H.R. 6751, the Roberto Clemente Commemorative Coin Act, with my friend and colleague, Congressman Espaillat. And it's important to know that in 1958, he enlisted at the Marine Corps Reserve and then went to active duty. Many people are not aware of the legacy of Roberto Clemente and his stand defending our nation. So this bill will require the Department of the Treasury to mint and issue coins in recognition of the life and legacy of a baseball legend from Puerto Rico, Roberto Clemente Walker. Proceeds from the sales of these coins will support the Roberto Clemente Foundation, which offers a variety of community education, sport, and other programs. Roberto Clemente is the first ever Latino to be inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame. and was an exemplary figure in all aspects of his life, not just sports. A superstar with assured fame, he never stopped caring and working for those less fortunate. On the playing field, he was among the pioneers who, even in the face of persistent discrimination, knew to prove himself and silence critics. He reached championships in 2 World Series, including in 1971, when he was named the most valuable player. Clemente won 12 Gold Gloves, 4 Battle titles, and was 12-time member of the All-Star team. And it's one of the 33 players in the history of major leagues to be part of the exclusive 3,000 hits club. During the offseason, he remained engaged with supporting communities in Puerto Rico and in neighboring countries in the Caribbean, using sports as a vehicle to motivate communities and provide opportunities for developed to disadvantaged families. On December 31st, 1972, Clemente boarded a flight to Nicaragua to lead relief efforts following an earthquake in that country. Tragically, the flight faltered during takeoff, resulting in a crash that claimed the life of all on board. This loss is still felt today. Many of us continue advocating for Major League Baseball permanently to retire the number 21 across the league to honor Clemente's legacy. Also, although the Capitol Statutory Hall does not currently have status of heroes from the U.S. territories, if it did, surely Clemente will be the first to be installed for Puerto Rico. And for that reason, we filed H.R. 4065 to especially provide for such recognition to Clemente, as I believe his statue must be among those of great Americans in these halls. So I expect sometime we can approve that bill as well. But today, we recognize Clemente by supporting this commemorative coin. I want to say again, thank you to Congressman Espaillat. We worked together for many months to get and hit the 296 number. And I appreciate all the support from members of this House to honor Roberto Clemente, which is the biggest for Puerto Rico and, of course, for the nation. Y lo tengo que decir en español, Roberto Clemente es una de las superestrellas que dio mucha honra a Puerto Rico y a nuestra nación. So I feel proud to serve as a member of Congress. In January, I'm going to be serving as a governor of Puerto Rico. So for me, this is a double honor to make this happen. So I expect with Congressman Espaillat that the Senate can do something about it. So thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Reserve my time.
Gentlelady reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I now yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from New York, who is also the sponsor of this bill, Mr. Espaillat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank, of course, the resident commissioner from Puerto Rico, Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, for her leadership in getting 296 members of the House to sponsor this bill. Way under Roberto Clemente's batting average, but still a great number. And of course, our ranking member, Maxine Waters, and Chairman Patrick McHenry, thank you for your collegiality, for your support of this measure. Long before the Latinization of baseball, long before we enjoy seeing players from many Latin American and Caribbean nations in the diamond play, there was the great number 21, Roberto Clemente. And that is why today I rise in support of H.R. 6751, the Roberto Clemente Commemorative Coin Act. Roberto Clemente was a baseball icon and trailblazer, breaking barriers as the first Latin American inducted into Cooperstown National Baseball Hall of Fame as one of the greatest players of all time. We've heard the 15 All-Star games. We heard of his MVP winning years. He got his 3,000 hit on his last at-bat before he unfortunately passed an mission to Nicaragua. But Clemente was much more than a baseball star. You know, he used his platform to advocate for civil rights and racial equality as he played throughout the Jim Crow South. In fact, Clemente and many other MLB players protested the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by not playing the first 2 games of 1968. He fought for justice not just here in the United States, but abroad as well. Clemente's dedication to service extended beyond the baseball diamond. As a proud member of the Marine Corps Reserve, he exemplified discipline, leadership, and pride, earning the rank of Private First Class. Perhaps most inspiring was his humanitarian work. During his off seasons, Clemente would host free baseball clinics for underprivileged kids, giving aspiring players an opportunity they wouldn't have otherwise. He also delivered aid to numerous Latin American countries, including his hometowns in Puerto Rico. Tragically, he lost his life on New Year's Eve in 1972 while an earthquake hit a relief mission in Nicaragua. He was a selfless act that defined his legacy. In his honor, the Major League Baseball established the Roberto Clemente Award. Given annually, it recognizes a player who best exemplifies baseball sportsmanship and community involvement. It has been given to many, many baseball greats. This bill pays tribute to Clemente's unparalleled contributions by making him the first Latino, Afro-Latino, and Puerto Rican feature on a commemorative coin. Proceeds from the coin will benefit the Roberto Clemente Foundation. Roberto Clemente was a humanitarian, a civil rights advocate, a baseball legend, a Marine. By passing this bill, we honor his life, his legacy, and enduring impact on the world. Let's remember number 21. Let's remember the great one, Roberto Enrique Clemente Walker. I urge my colleagues to join us in supporting this extraordinary measure. I thank you and I yield back.
The gentleman yields.
I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Deluzio.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentlelady, the chairwoman, for yielding. I rise in support of H.R. 6751, the Roberto Clemente Commemorative Coin Act. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to represent people of Western Pennsylvania, and that means representing so many Pittsburgh Pirates fans. And no man means more to the Pirates than the great Roberto Clemente. Buccos fans today wear his number with special pride, and we speak his name with reverence. It's joked that he could field the ball in New York and throw a guy out in Pennsylvania, and we are serious when we say that Roberto Clemente was one of the best, the greatest, to play the game at bat and in the outfield. He was the best of us, and we will always have a special place for him in our hearts, in the hearts of Pirates fans and so many across our country. Roberto Clemente's hardworking spirit and care for his neighbors modeled the core values of the good people of Western Pennsylvania that became his home. His tragic death was mourned by so many as he was seeking to serve those in need, but his excellence on and off the field left an impact and a legacy that still continue to this day. Clemente's record as humanitarian and activist remains an inspiration to millions across the world, and for decades, the Roberto Clemente Foundation has kept his legacy alive through their work to serve kids, veterans, and victims of disasters across the country. We can honor his legacy by passing this bill, and I'm proud to co-sponsor, Mr. Speaker, and with that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields. Gentlewoman from Texas is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentlewoman reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Thank you very much. I now yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Frost.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, throughout my life, I dealt with a lot of identity issues. I was adopted at birth. My mom came here from Cuba in the late 1960s. My dad was born in Kansas, but is a musician deeply rooted in Black and Latino music. My biological mother is Lebanese and Puerto Rican, and my biological father is Haitian. So I got a lot going on. And I never quite knew who I was in terms of my identity, and I dealt with this throughout my whole life. There were times in my life where I despised my Blackness. There were times in my life where I despised my Latino heritage. I bring up my own story because there's so many times where I felt lost, but sometimes you gotta see someone who looks like you fly to know that you can too. And one of those people for so many Black Latinos and Afro-Latinos is Roberto Clemente. People like him who, he wasn't just one of the best to ever play the sport, but he walked in this tradition that is deeply rooted in the Black tradition and the Latino tradition of deep solidarity. Not solidarity as an empathy, but solidarity as a verb. Quote, anytime you have an opportunity to make a difference in this world and you don't, then you are wasting your time on this earth, end quote. That's a call to action for all of us. And I'm proud to support this bill. And I'm proud to support any time that we can uplift Black Latinos in this country who have done so much for this country and so much for this world. Thank you so much, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields. The gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
We have no more speakers. We are prepared to close if the gentlelady is prepared to close.
Gentlelady reserves, and the gentlelady is prepared to close. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from California.
You're prepared to close.
Yes, I am prepared to go, and I yield myself the balance of the time.
Gentlelady is recognized.
This bill will direct the U.S. Mint to create a commemorative coin to honor the life and legacy of Roberto Clemente, baseball player and human rights activist, with proceeds going to the Roberto Clemente Foundation. He used his platform as a baseball player to push for equal rights in sports and has become a symbol of Afro-Puerto Rican pride. I'm proud to co-sponsor this bill. I thank Representative Espaillat for his work on this important bill, and I again urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields. The gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I would urge my colleagues to support H.R. 6751, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 6751? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.